sometimes as a vendor, you want a certain price. And then obviously as a buyer, you want the lower price. And sometimes it's just very hard to convince them. Like, it doesn't really matter on which side you're on. Like, if you're the vendor or if you're the customer, like, it's hard. Sometimes they're just stuck at that price. This is more recent, but a lot of people come in and say, oh, you're a scalper when I'm ripping like Japanese packs. And I'm like, okay. I've been doing this for a really long time. And when I started doing it, Pokemon was accessible everywhere. The Pokemon industry is very male dominated. So I feel like a lot of like the marketing is missing, a lot of the branding is missing. I feel like the hardest thing for us though was to get people to trust us, vendors specifically. I'm not gonna lie, they were like, oh, like this is a fake show, this is a scam. And I was like, wow, like I did not expect that. That's like a crazy turn I did not expect to take. My biggest piece of advice for new vendors is to do a ton of research before you do it. You know, study the market, kind of find your niche and see what you really want to sell. Because I think Charizard is so overrated and we need to stop making Charizards top chases.
If someone was listening to this podcast right now and had no idea who you were, how would you describe yourself?
Well, I'm Kat. I'm 22 years old, also known as KatsPokePalace. I am a TikTok rip and shipper. And I recently just started my own card show as well. So, yeah.
Quick and to the point. I like it. And I like to ask all my guests, just as, you know, a little warm-up question. Do you remember your first interaction with Pokemon?
I do. So I never grew up with Pokemon. My brother liked it, my little brother. But personally, I was more of a Barbie girl. I love playing with Barbies and I love collecting Barbies. So I feel like when I first discovered Pokemon, I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like, why are people collecting cards? But I think it was I don't remember what specific Pokemon, but it was a cute card. And I was like, okay, I could get with this, you know? I don't remember what it was, but it was some sort of Sword and Shield set. I remember. So my boyfriend at the time, he started collecting Pokemon, or he collected as a kid, but he got back into it because we found some at Costco. It was like these random like mini stacking tins or something. And he bought some and then he was ripping them. He's like, oh yeah, people collect these and they're worth money. So that's when I like saw the cute card and I was like, okay, that's actually kind of cool. And then we somehow discovered Whatnot, and we saw people doing rip and ship, and we saw people selling these cards, and we're like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then we spent a bunch of money that night buying packs from people. But yeah, that's basically how I started collecting Pokemon.
And when was that? The whole Whatnot you got into? Was it 2019, 20?
That was about 3 years ago.
So 2022.
It was pretty recent, yeah. I am
recent.
still a fairly new collector, yeah. But I've learned so much since. It's a crazy world.
Yeah. Speaking of rip and ships, I see that on your TikTok, or actually through all your social medias, you've grown your following to, I see right here, 48,000 followers between all your social medias through what I believe rip and ship mainly. First question, how did you even start rip and ship?
So like I said, Whatnot. So we saw people reselling packs or just selling packs and like cards in general. And we're like, okay, this is kind of a cool idea. It might be like a fun little side hustle hobby thing. So we started buying packs from, I think it was Target. Because at this time, you could go into any retail store, Target, CVS, Walgreens, and you'll find a bunch of Pokemon, like Evolving Skies, on the shelves. So we would buy those and we would sell them on stream. We would run $1 auctions, and it was a lot of fun. We lost a ton of money for sure, but it was a lot of fun just because we wanted to rip packs without having to spend our own money to rip all these packs. It was like the thrill of ripping packs. So yeah, we discovered Whatnot. We started doing Whatnot, doing the $1 auctions, and then I think about a year later, TikTok Shop became a thing, and we're like, okay, maybe we should switch to TikTok because the fees were less at the time. I think they're the same now compared to Whatnot, but the fees were less, and it's such a versatile like platform because everyone already has TikTok. Whatnot is more of a niche thing. Like if you're looking to buy something, you'll go on Whatnot. But other than that, people don't really know what Whatnot is. I think it's grown since then. But yeah, we were like, okay, let's get on TikTok. So we streamed on TikTok for a bit. This was before I started KatsPokePalace. KatsPokePalace only became a thing like less than a year ago. Last June, the most recent June, was when I started that. So it's been a wild ride.
I actually didn't know that. That's actually really recent. That's what you said less than a year ago, June of last year. What is
So
that?
like
10
about
years?
9,
Or 10 months, sorry. 9 months.
nine-ish, 10 months. Yeah.
Wow.
Whatever the math is.
And you've grown pretty
Yeah.
quickly since then.
I know it's crazy, but I think a part of that is because I did have prior experience, like on Whatnot, and then on TikTok. We had a combined channel, my boyfriend and I. But I wasn't the one on the camera. He was. I was the one doing all the behind the scenes stuff. So like packaging the orders after he rips it. And how I got into it was because sometimes people would buy stuff and they would request for me to open it. They'd be like, hey, can Kat open it? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm so down. Like, I love ripping packs. Why not? And then eventually, after I graduated college, I was like, why not? I'm just going to try it out, like start my own channel.
And you just basically took everything that you learned from that into KatsPokePalace, I assume.
Yep, exactly. But before we were doing like a hand POV, we didn't show our faces. And then when I was doing that, it was really fun, but I felt like I was lacking like that connection with my viewers. So I was like, why not just go all out? I was debating between doing like the mirror POV. I don't know if you've seen those. Like some people would just prop up their phone and like show their hands and their face, but like their face will be on the mirror. Mm-hmm. Instead of the way I do it, I just put it up like selfie mode and then it's more like a FaceTime call thing. So I feel like it's more casual and it feels like you're actually hanging out with me, which I like.
To be honest, I've seen more of the mirror, if I'm being honest. I've seen more of the mirror. I guess it's because it's easy. Well, I wouldn't say easier because it sounds like they're both like pretty easy to set up. But I was watching your videos and it really looks like a FaceTime call. Like I could just imagine my little square in the corner, and it like every time I'm like, oh my god, is she gonna pull it? Is she gonna pull it? So it's like kind of cool. It's like a one-way FaceTime, but like it still feels pretty personal, which I feel like most people actually underestimate when it comes to making content.
I agree. Yeah.
Speaking of rip and ships, so I'm not too familiar with rip and ships. I do know the general basis where it's like you pay for a pack, like for example, on TikTok Shop now, and they open it for you, you ship it out. What I don't understand is TikTok Live in general, because I'm more of a Twitch guy, where if I want to watch someone stream, it's on Twitch, which like I feel like the pace of a Twitch stream is slower, more calm. You kind of just throw it on the second monitor, and you just chill with that guy or girl, or whoever. Yeah. And TikTok live streams, it seems to be pretty fast paced, I assume, because TikTok in itself is a pretty like, you scroll to the next one as soon as you're bored. So how do you catch people's attention with TikTok live? And is that true, first of all, that you have to be pretty high energy? And if it is, how do you catch that person's attention?
I definitely feel like it's true. Like you said, TikTok is more casual. Like you go on there to watch videos. Sometimes you stumble like upon lives. Twitch is like you're going there with a purpose. You're wanting to watch someone stream. The biggest thing for me is to keep things different every stream. I like to do some games like once a week or something with my viewers, like energy breaks. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Basically, you know how every English pack has like an energy card, right? So instead of buying into, a set amount of packs, they're buying into an energy slot. So every pack we open, normally for me, I open 40 packs, but you can make it as big or small as you want. But 40 packs, and basically you choose an energy. Every pack we open with your energy is yours. And then what I also like to do is do a little prize. So whoever the winner is, I have some like Funko Pops in the back there. Sometimes I'll do like Funko Pops. Sometimes I'll give away like Lego. Sometimes like a Pokemon card, you know. But yeah, I feel like things like that definitely make you stand out from other people, especially when you're just scrolling on your phone, scrolling through lives. It's a very casual setting, so you have to grab their attention or they're scrolling away.
That sounds like what TikTok really is. It's just catch people's attention, try to
Yeah.
hold them as long as possible, which is the same on
Yeah.
TikTok, like videos and TikTok Live, I assume.
I don't honestly post many videos. The videos I do post are mainly just clips from my live. But I do think posting videos helps your live engagement. So I need to get on that.
Wait, so you've been doing mainly lives, and that's how you get your audience? Is that right? Or is it the clips
That's
too?
literally no, that's literally all
Wow.
from my lives. When I'm not when I'm not streaming, I normally don't get too many followers, like maybe a few here and there. Maybe they'll stumble across my video, but for the most part, all of my followers come from my streams.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm so ignorant to TikTok lives. I didn't know there was like a whole side of TikTok lives until I heard about ribbon chips. Because for the
Yeah.
first time I heard about TikTok live was people just multi-streaming their video games from Twitch or YouTube into TikTok.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, people are
Mhm.
just like, it's pretty lazy. People just like go on
Yeah.
there and just instead of having two streams, they have three streams on three different platforms. I was like, okay, well, that doesn't
Yeah.
seem very fun. But now I'm learning a bunch. There's like a whole industry for TikTok Live where people can
It
pay
is.
live to have, and they have, I don't know if they have their name show up or you get a notification or something like that person gets a notification and they just
Mhm.
interact live. You pay money and you get something happens on screen, which for ribbon ships, they rip a pack for you live, which is
Right.
honestly so
Yeah.
cool. And I don't know why I didn't think that was a whole industry well, just a whole industry. And sounds really, and I'm sure they do it for multiple different things, not just Pokemon packs. I'm sure there's TikTok lives with shops of,
Yeah.
I think I've seen jewelry too. There's like this one thing, or
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's
They're
like,
so cool. They make it into like little bath bombs. And it's kind of, I feel like it's very much like Pokemon. It's like a surprise product. You don't really know what you're getting in there. It's really cool. I watch those lives. I don't buy anything, but they're very entertaining. So they make it into like a bath bomb type thing. And then they put a piece of paper in there and then they put in the water and then it reveals like what jewelry you get. And it's like a mystery, like surprise product. And I think it's really cool.
you know what I learned? This is a side tangent. You know what I learned about, like, I don't know, our generation or just like people in general? People, whether they want to admit it or not, they love gambling. I don't know how you can
I
turn
love
jewelry
gambling.
into gambling, but they manage to do it somehow. Like from at least
Yeah.
what you said, it sounds like they turned jewelry into
Yeah.
gambling. I know blind boxes are a big thing right
Yeah.
now. Pokemon packs right
Huge.
now. I know even, oh my gosh, okay, another side tangent. Pokemon, and I know sneakers do it too. They do coin flips. They
Yeah.
literally gamble
Oh my gosh.
on like how much
Yeah.
something should be worth. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is the, I mean, no offense, but this has to be like the dumbest thing ever. This is like
It's
gambling.
crazy.
It's literally gambling. Like you're valuing something
Yeah.
based on a result that is random. That is gambling. That is
Right.
so crazy to
But
me.
it's so much fun. Yeah, like you said, blind boxes, huge thing. I've seen people sell like blind boxes on live too. And I think with our generation, like Gen Z in general, people love surprise products. Like they just love it. So like blind boxes, Pokemon packs, they all fall into that category and it all works out. It's so much fun.
It's 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 gotten to the point where it's like, dang, should I just make a blind box and like make it cute and like, because that's really what Smiskies is. It's just like, oh god, this is a complete side tangent, but it's just something really cute that's made out of plastic and they sell for $15 and they
Yeah.
sell millions, like absolute millions.
Exactly. Like Sunny Angels, Labubus. I have fallen victim to blind boxes as well. I have a huge collection. It used to be in this room, but I moved it downstairs in my living room now. On a bookshelf, so many like little collectibles and stuff. I can't stop.
I can't. I feel like there's a big overlap with with Pokemon collectors and then like other collections. So like sneakers is one, key stuff. So like Smiskies, Sony Angels, just like people who
Yeah.
collect anything they like. So that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And that's how I started collecting too. Like growing up, I loved to collect anything. Like I said, Barbie dolls, like I used to collect like rocks, like random rocks I would find like in elementary school. That was a huge thing. And then I don't know, I collect books, I collect Funko Pops, I collect everything. So like collecting Pokemon cards just made a lot of sense to me. Not at first, but now it does.
I guess I never asked anybody, and that like the whole like flipping for cards or stuff, like the value stuff. That was like something I personally like. I don't know the general opinion. Obviously, people like it enough to do it. So I guess I wanted to ask your opinion. Do you think that's good or bad for the community?
Like flipping cards, like making profit off them.
No, sorry, not flipping. More as in like you flip a coin, or sorry, you say like two numbers, like this card is like worth 325. Okay, I'm gonna flip
The
if it's
coin
heads.
flips.
Yeah, coin flips. Yeah, sorry, I'm not too into it, but I've seen like I think we talked about a little bit Baby Pokey's video, and they were coin flipping. I was like, whoa, whoa, we're actually this is legalized gambling or something like you know what I'm saying. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not against it. I think it's a really easy way to make a deal because sometimes as a vendor, you want a certain price. And then obviously as a buyer, you want the lower price. And sometimes it's just very hard to convince them. Like, it doesn't really matter on which side you're on. Like, if you're the vendor or if you're the customer, like, it's hard. Sometimes they're just stuck at that price. So that coin flip gives them, like, it's fair. I feel like it's just fair. And it's easy and it gets the job done. You make the deals faster. It's literally gambling, but people like it.
I totally get the
And it's the thrill of it too.
right. I get the reason why. I mean, you kind of nailed it. It's just like I want this price, you want that price. Let's look for it, and the deal's done, and you can move on to the next client or the next person that comes in and stuff like that. So
yeah, because sometimes you just want to settle like in the middle, obviously, but sometimes they don't really want to. Like as the vendor, I don't really want to settle in the middle sometimes. So that flip gives me a chance to get the full amount that I want. But at the same time, it'll benefit them. It could benefit them as well.
Like on the long run, it breaks even for everybody if everyone makes the right numbers. It's just man, I like just for me, I don't know why. Maybe I'm just like a minority, but like that, I don't think I could ever be a vendor because like that's like the thing now, which I see on like TikToks and YouTube videos. Yeah. So I'm like, whoa. If people ask me to flip, I'm like, I'll probably be the worst vendor out there. I guess I don't know. That's like you're firm with your prices. No, I'm done. Well, I like to be fair on my price. Okay, that's a whole different thing. Okay, no, I won't get into that. But would you say, I guess real quick, would you say that more deals are done, with that one price, or is it done now with like a majority through flips, like coin flips? I definitely feel like it's done through flips now. Wow. One, because it's a form of content. A lot of content creators love to do flips because it's like entertaining and it like you can make clips out of it. And yeah, it's fun to watch too. Cause sometimes people will go like really degen flips, like 0 or like 6,000 for like a $3,000 card. And like it's insane that people do it, And personally I would never do it, but I would love to watch that video because it's like it's cool, Yeah, I guess if you're on the well, it depends if you're the content creator, but if you're the content creator and you lose, at least you can justify in your head that you at least make content out of it, and hopefully that content pays for that card or that you would have made or something. So yeah, for sure. It's interesting, but we'll get into more vending later, which we'll talk about later because as some may know, you host your own card show, but we'll get into that later. I do want to ask just a few more questions about content creation. We talked about a little bit, like there's actually quite a bit that goes into live streams. It's not just you turn on a camera and you start streaming, you start, whatever. Right. Can you tell me how much work goes behind the scenes of a live stream? Oh yeah. I feel like
the streaming is literally the easiest part of it all. Selling the product, streaming is the easiest, and that's the only part people see.
Mhm.
But I spend so much time packaging orders, printing labels, all that stuff. Like, you have to get it done. That's a part of the business, but it takes a long time. And then, like, you have to do restocks, contacting distributors, applying to distributors, to get product is not easy, as well. But I feel like that doesn't take as much time once you do find those connections. But the shipping and printing labels is always going to be the longest chunk of my time. It takes so long, especially the way we package. My boyfriend helps me package, luckily. So I don't package much. I just print all the labels, but we like to make sure that cards are really, really protected. So we cut cardboard to kind of like protect, like extra layer of protection in the bubble mailer, so that in case it gets bent or something, it won't actually bend the cards. So that takes hours in itself to cut the cardboard. I mean, we could buy it, but that's an extra cost that we don't really want to take on. And since we can cut it, that's a cost that can be easily cut. So we just cut the cardboard ourselves, and then make sure everything's all good.
Yeah. Speaking of like the cost that the cardboard cost, I learned that you pay in two ways. You pay in money and you pay in time. So once, oh, sorry, were you gonna
That's so
add?
true.
Okay. Yeah.
No, but that's so true.
Yeah, no. So it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, my time could be better spent, like the return on investment of time spent, for example, cutting cardboard. Like maybe right now, the money saved from not buying the perfect size cardboard, it makes sense to cut it yourself.
Right.
But maybe later on when you're doing bigger stuff that requires more of your time, but has a bigger
Yeah.
return on investment, like money wise, you'll probably have to spend a little
Yeah.
extra, which I'm sure but just in case the people don't know,
Yeah.
like you cut
sure.
now, and then when you have a bigger opportunity later, then you got to spend a
Yeah.
little bit on the nice cardboard, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah. It's all about weighing your options, the opportunity cost, Yeah, right now we definitely do have the time. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say we have the time, but we do try to set up aside that time to cut the cardboard. So it's not a problem for us right now.
Exactly. And then actually two more questions about the rip and ships. Do you have a favorite pull you've ever gotten for someone live on stream?
Yeah, so I open a lot of packs. So we pull a lot of crazy things every day. Like, we've pulled Moonbreons, we pulled Giratina V ults, Lugia V ults. But my favorite Pokemon is Sylveon. I absolutely adore her, and I feel like it's very sentimental to me because Sylveon's the first Pokemon I've ever liked, and she's been my favorite since. So my favorite card in general is the Sylveon from Generations. It's like a Radiant Collection card. It's Sylveon and Eevee together, and I think it's the cutest card ever. So that's definitely my favorite pull. I think we pulled it like maybe 3 or 4 times. I don't get Generations a lot because it's an older set, so it's harder to source, but I love that card.
I feel like I know exactly what card you're talking about, and it's really pretty. I don't know how much it goes for, and I'm not too caught up with like if it's not modern, I probably don't know the price, but I'm assuming it goes for a pretty penny.
So when I got the card for my own collection, it was actually pretty really, really affordable. It was like in the 30s. Now I'm seeing it for like over 100, but as we all know, the Pokemon market has been going crazy. So I have a PSA 10 version of it. I love collecting slabs because I love to display my collection. So to me, like, putting it in a binder I don't like putting it in a binder as much as I like it in a slab. So this slab, it actually took me months to find. And I didn't even find it. My friend found it for me. PSA 10, the Sylveon. I bought it for around 500. I think it goes for over 1,000 now, which is insane.
When did you buy it? Because I know the market's been going up, like a huge uptrend in the past year. So it's probably before that year, last year, or
yeah, probably like a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty recent, but not too, maybe like a less than a year ago actually. I remember KatsPokePalace was a thing, so definitely less than a year ago. But it's been like these last few months have been a crazy uptrend with Pokemon. And I feel like a lot of that is because there's so many new collectors and maybe like people finding out from, TikTok streams. A lot of people will come in and say, I don't collect Pokemon, but this is entertaining. Or like, I've never collected before, but this looks really fun. I want to collect. I feel like all the content that's being made about Pokemon, like people posting vending videos, really intrigues people and like really contributed to the boom of Pokemon.
Yeah, I think so. What got me interested in vending just in general was, I think his name was Coop. Coop.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was
Coop's
just a
collection,
super
I
nice
think.
guy. At least on camera, he seems really nice and
Yeah.
really trying to help like grow the community. Giving out free stuff to people and all that. And I was like super interested in just him specifically, and then vending in general. And then that's actually how I found you. I was like scrolling and I found your
Oh,
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah, well, you do the TikTok live stream and then the Detroit car show, which I saw you promoting that, and I was like, that's so interesting. A side tangent, I really want to talk to you, but because of the card show that you're hosting, that's how we
Yeah.
met, and that's why I reached out to
Mhm.
you, because that sounds like a whole story in just a huge story. But again, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
I think you could tell how excited I am to talk about the card show. I have so many questions about it.
Yeah.
But just one last question before we get into that. I know online, especially if you have like a personal brand, there's sometimes you get to a point where you're big, and there's like trolls, like people who like come in and just kind
Yeah.
of mess with you. I don't know
Yeah.
about you specifically, but that's kind of what I see online. So my question is, do you have trolls that come into the stream, and how do you deal with it if you do?
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is more recent, but a lot of people come in and say, "Oh, you're a scalper," when I'm ripping like Japanese packs, and I'm like, "Okay." I've been doing this for a really long time, and when I started doing it, Pokemon was accessible everywhere to everyone. Like I said, you can walk into Target and find Evolving Skies for literally like $5 or whatever retail is. Like it was crazy, but luckily I feel like I've built a really strong community, and I have a lot of mods that do help me out, so they're really quick. Sometimes I won't even see the comment before they're blocked. So I just, let my mods take care of that. They know exactly like what the trolls are trying to do. So yeah, they just take care of that. And I'm really grateful for them.
I totally forgot live streams can have mods. I know Twitch has mods. I forgot you can have TikTok mods
Yeah.
as well, which I guess does alleviate a lot of the trolling. I mean, like, at least on your end, you don't have to go through and kick them out or whatever. So that's actually cool that they have the mods on TikTok, which I'm assuming you trust.
Yeah, for sure.
If you make them mods.
Yeah, saves me a lot of time actually, because then like I don't have to like scroll back and like mute them myself.
Yeah, it also looks bad because they can see you live going back into, like, if you're not ripping, right? They can literally see like scrolling and stuff.
But... Yeah, exactly.
Okay, finally we get to talk about the thing I've been thinking about literally all day. You host, I'll pull it up on screen, the Detroit Card Show, and we talked for a little bit. It's actually pretty recent. I didn't know it was like a new thing.
Yeah.
For the people who don't know, what exactly is the Detroit Card Show, and how did it start?
Yes. So the Detroit Card Show is just a cards and collectibles show. I know it's called Card Show, but we welcome all types of collectibles. So like Funko Pop vendors are welcome. I love having Funko Pop vendors. Recently we've had like 3D printing people come. They make like little figurines of like anime characters and like Pokemons, and I think it's the coolest thing ever. It's like basically just a little collectibles convention. But we started this. Our first show was back in February, so we host shows monthly. We've had 3 shows since. Upcoming one, 4th show in May. But we take a lot of inspiration from the shows that we used to vend in California. So I moved here to Michigan from California back in January. And the card shows here are just so different. Not necessarily in a bad way, but they're just run very differently. And the people that run them are a little bit older. They're older, and this industry in general, the Pokemon industry, is very male dominated. So I feel like a lot of like the marketing is missing, a lot of the branding is missing. So we saw that as an opportunity. We as in me and my boyfriend. So we took this opportunity and we started the Detroit Card Show. We named it Detroit Card Show because when you think of Michigan, I feel like you think of Detroit. Or that's what I thought of. So we're like, okay. And we're near the Detroit area, so that's where the name comes from. But yeah, we have been hosting monthly card shows since February, and we do plan to keep that going. So yeah.
So I've been to a couple card shows locally here in Florida, and
Mhm.
I know how big it can get. And the first thing I think of when I walk into a card show and it's ginormous, I'm like, how does anybody manage this type of event? So what I'm trying to get at is, what is the biggest challenge putting on a card show like that? And from vending in California and then bringing it over to Michigan, what have you learned?
A lot of it is behind the scenes that you guys don't see. So, like, we have to make sure that everyone's safe, obviously. So, we're now getting armed security guards just to be safe. There's a lot of valuable collectibles at these shows, and we want to make sure everyone's safe. And, like, it's not necessarily about theft, because theft is going to happen either way, and that's mainly on the vendors. I feel like as a vendor, you're responsible for your own things and you should always be looking after them. But it's more for, like, who knows, like someone could bring a gun in and say, like, give me all your collectibles. Like, we have to think about stuff like that. So that's a huge thing, safety. And, like, especially when there's so many people in the room, like you said, it could get crazy, and it could get bad really, really quickly. And then I feel like the hardest thing for us, though, was to get people to trust us, vendors specifically. I feel like it's different in every state because the vendors I meet in California are I feel like they're all really nice and welcoming. Here, they were kind of mean, I'm not gonna lie. They were like, oh, like, this is a fake show, this is a scam. And I was like, wow, like, I did not expect that. That's like a crazy turn I did not expect to take. But aside from that, I feel like the first show, it was pretty manageable because we were hoping to get at least, like, 70 tables, or like 50 to 70 tables. We only sold like 30 tables. So we had to think quickly and change the whole layout of the room to make sure it looked like a full show, so that when people were coming in, it wasn't like, oh, there's only 30 tables. What is this? But we were really surprised at the turnout. We came into this not knowing what to expect at all for our first show because we didn't do any paid advertisements. Up until this point, we still haven't done any paid advertisements. So all the people that come in, it's happening organically through the advertising we're doing, like, personally. So yeah, it's been crazy, but it's been growing every show, so I feel like that makes it more manageable because I'm learning new things every show. Obviously I've never done this before, so we're all kind of just learning as we go. And every show I'm implementing a new thing so that it's not all like, oh, like, here are like 5 changes at once. It's easier to make it like maybe like 1 or 2 changes per show and like have that spread out. I feel like that makes it a lot more manageable than just like going full out.
No, that totally makes sense. I mean, if you change, so what I learned is if you change, for example, for you, 5 variables and
Yeah.
the show goes
Mhm.
well, you don't really know which of the 5 variables actually helped, and some of them might even hurt,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
so it actually doesn't help at all if you change multiple factors. So I like the approach that you're
Mhm.
going with. It sounds like you're just doing one. I guess I'm assuming it's like a pretty big thing, changing that at a time, and if it goes well, you
Yeah.
keep it. If it doesn't, help you cut it, and then you just add on top. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. For example, like this next show, we are implementing admission. The whole plan was to have admission, but it wasn't very smart to do it at the beginning because I guess people here in Michigan aren't really used to paying admission fees because they're more used to going to smaller local shows. But we wanted to show them that we have more to offer. Like, we're trying to do something bigger than just your local card show. We want to be the card show of Michigan, and we eventually want vendors from like our surrounding states to come, which is slowly happening. We have some vendors from like Ohio coming. Some people visit from Canada as well because we're pretty close to the border. So people make the drive, and since we're implementing admission this next show, it's only $2, but we're making sure that it's worth it for them. So we have Monster sponsoring us, which is really cool. They're giving away free Monsters all day, which is insane. They said they're bringing like 1,600 cans. Insane. But we're also getting armed security. Like I said, safety is going to be a huge thing since this show is growing a lot faster than we thought. Like last show we had 1,200 people, and that was only our third show, and like 125 vendor tables. This show we're projecting to have 150 tables, and then we are going to change like the layout of the venue as well. Every show we've been growing, so every time we kind of rent a little bit more space from the expo center. This time we have half the expo now, so that's a pretty big jump.
I mean, going from, I'm assuming, pretty small part of the expo to half sounds pretty big. Do you ever think you're gonna get to like the whole expo center at one point, or is that like out of the question?
Oh, no, yeah, for sure. I think I would estimate around like 300 to 350 tables fitting in the venue. I could definitely see the whole venue being filled, but the thing for us right now is because we're still new. Like, this is our upcoming show. That's going to be our fourth show. So we need to make sure that our vendors are still making money, and that means we have to track like how many people come in and make sure like the ratios are pretty decent. We don't want like 300 tables and only like 500 people coming in, because that just doesn't make sense. We want to make sure that our vendors are happy, not only our vendors but our collectors. We want to make everyone happy, but it's baby steps for sure.
Speaking of vending, I know there's two types of people that come into a vending event, or maybe more. The first big one is the vendors. If there's no vendors, there's no vending event. And number two is the people who attend the vending event, people who come in and actually spend the money on those vendors for their cards and stuff. I always had this question in the back of my head. I know there has to be, I guess, a balance of giving an incentive for the good vendors to come in, and then you also have to like create that demand from people to want to actually come into your show. My question is, which would you, if you had to pick one, would you rather focus on getting people in the door, or would you rather have good vendors, people who maybe even have an audience, come in and vend for your event? Yeah,
so I do have a lot of connections to really big vendors back in California, but I don't want to invite them out without having that demand, because obviously there's a lot of overhead when you travel for shows. So right now we are focusing more on bringing the foot traffic, because I feel like once you bring that demand, vendors are going to come anyways. They'll see like, hey, there's a lot of people here, maybe we should vend there. And I feel like that's how the part of the reason why we've grown so quickly is because ever since the first show, we knew that it would be a very hard task to find vendors that would trust us and come vend at our first show. Because like our first show, you don't really know what's gonna happen. You don't really know how it's like, how other vendors are, how the environment's going to be, and like how the foot traffic is going to be. So vendors are always wary, and like I understand that because I used to be a vendor myself as well. But we somehow brought a ton of people in to the show, like in this little venue with only 30 vendors. And even with just 30, it wasn't even 30 vendors, it was 30 tables. So it was like maybe like 20 to 25 vendors. You know, people had a great time because we make it a point to try to offer more than what they're used to. So that like having a nice space to go and shop for cards to make it feel like you're actually at a show, definitely attracted a lot of people to come and like check it out. You know, it was free anyway, so it was like, why not? So a lot of people came and they had a great time. And then we eventually had to upgrade to our expo center, which they are meant to do what we're doing, like put on these shows and stuff. So I feel like that was a really good shift from the little venue we had to the expo center. It's a lot more open now, and people can definitely make their deals. But yeah.
So it sounds like you'd rather focus on getting the demand in from the customer or customer, like just the audience side, getting people in, and then the vendors will come, because it does make sense. Like if people come in, then the vendors want to be there to sell their cards,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, obviously at first we had to try to heavily market towards vendors to get them to come out to our first show, but it was really, really hard. But we knew that if we could have a successful first show and create that demand, that vendors would come like flooding in no time. And we were right, because last show we had the last few shows we had a huge wait list because we had to cap it at a certain amount of tables, obviously because of the venue space that we agreed upon with the venue. Because sometimes if we just rent out like, half the venue, they can still use the venue for other things. So sometimes they have other events booked out and we just can't add more space than we agreed on officially or initially. But yeah, the demand is really important, I feel like.
Yep. I mean, that totally makes sense, as like no one wants to vend in a dead place, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's just
'Cause
hard
that's just like
because
a waste of your time.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, no,
Mm.
I was just saying it's just like a waste of your time if you're vending at somewhere that's, there's no traffic.
Yeah, so it sounds like you need both in the beginning, and then once you have that little little success, you can just turn that into getting people in the doors, and then the vendors just come anyways. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly.
I know there's a whole bunch of stuff that go into vending. Not even like not only the things you just said, but I know you have to
Yeah.
there's like, I guess that's not really I mean table no floor design, no floor planning. Like you have to plan out where all the tables are going to be, and then you have to make sure that each person is vetted and make sure they're not just crazy or something. At least the vending side, because that's just a bad look on
Yeah,
you and anyone that vends or anyone that
exactly.
hosts a card show.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of small things. Is it
Yeah.
all just you and your boyfriend at the time, or do you have like some people helping you out here and there?
Yeah, so my boyfriend and I started the whole thing. So we are the hosts. Initially he had to vend as well because we needed more vendors. So he had to vend, he had no choice. So I did a lot of stuff during the show. But we hire a lot of our friends because a lot of them don't work on the weekends, or they're just like in school and they're free on the weekends. So they're people we can trust too. So we have a lot of them on our team and they help us out a lot. We have two initially we just started with one friend. He was just helping us out, like, organize, helping us set up, helping us make sure everyone's okay. And then second show, we also just had him, but we recently just hired one of our friends as a media guy. So now he does a lot of like Instagram reel content, TikTok, like casual content. Not so much like advertising, but like casual content, because I feel like once we do make that casual content, it'll reach a lot more people than just the usual ads. And then now we've just hired another friend to be like our security. Like he's just walking around. He's not armed or anything, but he just helps make sure everyone's okay.
Sounds like you're getting a little bit help here and there, and hopefully you get more along the way as you grow. Where do
Yeah.
you see Detroit Card Show going in the next 5 years?
Oh man, I don't even know because it's honestly, I went into this with a vision, a very specific vision, but I did not expect how fast it would grow. I'm hoping within 5 years I could be a little bit more hands off and like not have to like do all these jobs myself. Because right now, um, well, a few shows ago before we hired more of our friends, we were operating at a huge loss. So we were just like, doing everything ourselves, trying to save as much money as we can. Like I said, my boyfriend, he had to vend because we had no choice. We had to have more vendors. And I was just like, checking vendors in, like rebooking tables, like running around basically the whole show, doing the media myself, like taking photos, videos, doing the raffle giveaways. It was a lot, but I feel like now that I have a team that I could kind of delegate tasks to, it's taken a lot of stress off for sure. But yeah, 5 years, hopefully, I don't know, hopefully we can start inviting some bigger vendors from like different states. And then hopefully that will attract like more a new and different like consumer base as well.
Have you thought about in 5 years running like a whole different show where you have Detroit Card Show and you have like maybe a different city in Michigan or just a whole different, state altogether? I know how exhausting and a lot of work goes behind a car show, but as soon as you get, some time back to yourself by, outsourcing a lot of
Right.
those, very menial task, have you thought about opening two car shows maybe in a different location?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Michigan is very sparse. So there's like a few main cities. So we're in Detroit. I just moved here, so I don't really know the state that well, but I know that a lot of people live in Grand Rapids, which is about a 2 to 3 hour drive from Detroit. So, that's like a really highly populated area. So eventually we would like to dabble in that area as well. Obviously that would be not so soon, but it's a lot of planning to do because we would have to find like a whole different home base, like a expo center there, somewhere that could hold all of our vendors because a lot of expo centers are pretty small here. The one we're at right now is a newer expo center, so we're really lucky that they're able to work with us because, yeah, like I said, they're new, so they're also trying to attract new clients and stuff. So I feel like we found like the perfect place. But yeah, definitely in the future, we do plan on hosting other shows at different places and hopefully get like new, different vendors and like different clientele.
Gotcha. Speaking
Yeah.
of vending and hosting a whole card show, I'm sure you've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of vendors, having their own tables, selling their own cards or collectibles. My question is, what is some advice for someone who's thinking about getting into vending and wants to go to their first card show?
I would say my biggest piece of advice for new vendors is to do a ton of research before you do it. So, study the market, kind of find your niche and see what you really want to sell because I know for new vendors, it could be really difficult to keep up with inventory because, it really does cost a lot to start like vending because obviously you have to upfront the inventory costs and you don't know if that's going to go up or down. But for new vendors, I would definitely recommend like finding a niche, like figure out if you're going to sell slabs, singles, or packs. Like just pick one, because if you do everything, it costs a lot and it's really risky. I feel like once you really have that one niche down, you can obviously explore other areas of vending, but definitely just do your research and make sure you know what you're doing because it's really fast paced. I feel like vending is really fast paced. You could accidentally like scam yourself. Like someone could say, "Oh, maybe you have it stickered at like 250 and they offer like 220 and you say yes, but it might have gone up a few days ago and you didn't check and you don't know." So I think understanding the market and making sure you know what you're doing is very important before you start doing it.
Yeah, definitely like picking. I think you said like a niche, right? Like either singles, packs, or
Yeah.
slabs. But like you said, it's
Yeah.
too expensive to hold all three, especially if you're new.
Exactly. Plus,
So
it's a lot to keep up with.
so if someone were to finally pick that niche and they start getting into the rhythm of vending and they want to level
Mhm.
up their game, like what makes a good vendor table kind of stand out in a room full of vendors?
Well, to me, as a vendor and a consumer myself, I feel like a lot of times it doesn't really matter what you have. Well, it does matter what you have, but also if you think about it, everyone else like has the same stuff. So like if you are looking for a PSA 10 Moonbryon, I'm sure at least 10 other vendors will have it. But what makes me buy from one specific person over the others is their energy. Like a lot of vendors, like some vendors are really mean. Like you have to be welcoming and nice to consumers. Obviously, like these are your customers at the end of the day, or potential customers. You want to be nice to them. I feel like your energy really, really matters, especially when there's a room full of vendors and you guys pretty much all have the same thing. And like, unless you have something super rare, then I guess, but you know, most of the time, everyone pretty much has the same like modern stuff, same vintage stuff. There's only so many cards out there.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually funny that you brought like the whole energy thing up. So
Yeah.
I've like I said, I've been to a couple card shows, and sometimes I just see people like not really caring. Like they'll just be on their phone while the table's out, and it's like you should probably be giving attention to your, like you said, potential customers, greeting them, asking if they ever need any help or something, or how something works. Like just being welcoming, because for me, when I go into a card show and I see someone scroll on their phone and they're like hunched down and scrolling on TikTok, it doesn't really feel very welcoming. Like all I'll ever do is just like glance at their stuff, and I don't think I've ever bought from anyone that's kind of just on their phone doing willy nilly, And it's kind of sad too, because
Exactly.
um those events only last like a day or two, most, right? So
Mhm.
for them to set
Mhm.
that all up and like expect customers to just come to them, it kind of feels, they're missing that last step, which is like being high energy, being welcoming. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, that is exactly, I totally agree with that because, yeah, like you said, if you're sitting down, like who's gonna, you're sitting down looking at your phone, it seems like you don't want to talk to people. And like when people are going to these card shows, like I guess they are most of the time coming in with something they are looking for, but sometimes there's like maybe that like 20% that don't know what they're looking for and they just want to browse. And sometimes they just want to talk to vendors. And if they like you, they'll probably like support you and buy a few cards. And I feel like by not interacting with them and not greeting them initially makes you like lose out on those sales and interactions for sure.
Last question before like we wrap this up. I know this has been like I don't know how long it's been, but for me, it kind of caught my attention on TikTok at least. There's like this new wave of people who actually record their interactions with people and just post it on TikTok, and they
Yeah.
blow up, and their personal brand has like skyrocketed. I think we talked about Coop being one of them. I know uh, Jinkies Co. I don't know if you know her. She does. I watch her.
Yeah, I've seen her content before.
Yeah, I see her all the time on my feed. That's like, if you want to build a personal brand, I think personally that's like the way to do it. I don't know if you agree with that. I don't know
Mhm.
if you see more people at your events started recording themselves, interacting with customers. What's your like take on that? Is that like a good thing for the shows and the vendors and the whole vending event in general, or just it could be kind of a negative experience for people because maybe they don't want to be recorded?
Honestly, I as a card show host, I really do encourage people to do those like vendor POVs. I feel like those have been so popular lately and people love watching those videos, you know. It's really cool to see like a different side, the different side of the table, you know. Not everyone can start a vending business or whatever. But it is really cool to see. And as a host myself, I really, really like when I love when people record themselves because that just gives me our show like basically free promotion, you know. They're posting it online, and if it looks really busy and it looks cool, people will start to wonder, hey, what show is that? I might check it out. And to me, it's awesome. I love it.
Side tangent. Have you thought about when someone records on your, in your venue? Have you thought about like asking if they want to collab on it? I know there's an Instagram feature where you can collab with them, where it can show both the creator and, well, actually just two creators, or for example, you're the creator and then your card show. Have you thought about? I don't know if you do that now, but if you haven't, have you thought about kind of implementing something like that for your page?
Yes, so eventually, I think we're gonna do very soon, actually. We are implementing sponsors, and we do have a sponsor package already written up for like, but it's more catered towards like restaurants, like small businesses that want to promote their businesses at the card show, not so much like vendors that want to like promote their personal brand. But I do want to do something where vendors are able to become a sponsor for Detroit Card Show and promote their personal like Pokemon brands. And we would like, you know, collaborate on posts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's a win-win for both, the vendor and the card show. It's just like,
Yeah.
they get your audience, you get their audience. It's kind of a mix, and then they
Right.
never have to ask like,
Yeah.
hey, like the comments, the people who watch never have to ask, hey, where's this at? Your page is right at the top, right? So
Yeah.
I just feel like it's
Exactly.
a good way to pump out content, because content is king. No one could find you if you don't do videos at all. I guess the only
Yeah.
issue is that maybe you want your page, or if someone were to do it, they probably want their page in a certain way. But at the end of the day, people don't really care how. Honestly, for me at least, I don't think people care how a page looks, as long as it's
Yeah.
they just watch like a few videos of your page, and they'll either follow or not, right? It's they won't look at the whole page.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I see it.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I feel like people either like your content or they don't. So, I feel like watching just a few videos, you'll get the gist of the rest of their page.
Sorry, I know I already said last question, but I just have one more question before we
No,
wrap
you're
this up.
good.
I've definitely seen the Detroit Card Show page before. So at least on the stories I've actually seen, I think it was maybe you or your boyfriend go live and just showing the expo around. And then your feed is it dates of, or the next, or no, I've seen one with the mission, and then I see one with dates of the next show. Is there like any videos like kind of like behind the scenes, or like during the event, where people are just taking out your phones and just recording and showing stuff like that? Or have you thought about?
So like I said, we just hired one of our friends as a media manager. Up until that point, I was doing everything myself. So there's a lot of things that I wanted to do, but it's so fast paced that it just slips my mind. The live that you saw was actually him. I feel like going live on Instagram and TikTok and stuff does help with engagement of the overall account. So we do want him to start doing that every show. Like maybe like just 1 or 2 hours as like recording, like live streaming deals and stuff like that. That's like some cool content, Maybe someone's bored at their office job and they'll tune in. And then next time they'll come to our show, But as for content and stuff, we are gonna start posting more casual content, like kind of like short casual interviews, like what's your favorite Pokemon, or guess that Pokemon for a free pack, stuff like that. I feel like is really entertaining and does help boost the show's account and stuff too.
Yeah, 100%. Just so I like to ask, the guests that I have here, this kind of for fun question: what's your personal hot take about the Pokemon TCG community right now?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Pokemon hot take. I think Charizard is so overrated, and we need to stop making Charizard's top chases.
Right here,
Are you a Charizard fan?
So I play the actual like trading card game, and I am a
Okay.
big so Charizard's like used to be one of the best decks of all time in that meta,
Hmm.
and I just loved that
Yeah.
deck. It was like so good. I don't know. It's just like so like you just sorry, I won't get into it, but yeah, Charizard is my favorite because of the trading card game. But I totally get it as a collector, I guess. The
Hmm.
reason why I feel like people like it so much is because they grew up with the show, and Charmander and Charizard have been there since day one. So I kind of get it,
Hmm.
but as a collector, I can kind of see what you're talking about. It's like
Yeah.
it's always the chase card when it's in a pack or something
Yeah.
in a set.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Charizard's sick, but hey, he's like the top chase of like like so many sets. We need to give some spotlight to, other Pokemons too. I'd love to see like other Pokemons have cooler like SIR cards and stuff like that.
No, I totally get it. Okay, that was definitely a hot take because that killed me right here. But I will pretend you never said that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, thank you for coming on the podcast. As a final wrap up
Of course, thanks
question,
for having me.
yeah, of course. As a final wrap up question, where can people find you? Where do you want people to find you?
You guys can find me at KatsPokePalace on TikTok, Instagram. I am going to be streaming on Twitch and YouTube soon as well. KatsPokePalace. Like I said, I do rip and ship, so that's what that content is going to be. And then you can tune in to our live streams for our card shows, Detroit Card Show, at Detroit Card Show on Instagram. We also have a Facebook page, TikTok. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Also, I'll make sure to link everything you said in the description. And again, thank you so much.
Awesome.
And I'll talk to you later.
Of course. Thank you so much.